Hi there, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and blog. Today I have a card for a couple of challenges. It's for the Color Throwdown Challenge number 488, which is the colors yellow, green, aqua, and white, and also for the Simon Says Stamp Wednesday challenge, which was to add some texture. So I'm going to start out by pulling out my Mini Misty stamping tool and some Neenah Solar White cardstock. And I'm going to use that new to me stamp set that I showed the other day in a haul video, which is the Altenew Build-A-Flower Gardenia set. And this is a layering stamp set. So per the instructions on the back, I'm going to start with the most solid image and my lightest ink, which in this case is a Stampin' Up! Barely Banana ink. And I'm going to ink that up and I'm going to stamp it twice, which is the nice thing about the stamping platform, or the Mini Misty there. And then next I'll line up my next image, and I'm going to use the little bit darker ink, and for me it takes a second to actually line it up, but I'm going to use that darker ink, which is the Stampin' Up! So Saffron, and I'm going to ink that up a couple times. So you're going to see me ink it up the first time, ink it up the second time, and for me sometimes solid images can be tough to stamp even with a stamp tool like the Mini Misty, but that's just in my opinion. So I will sometimes pick it up and squeeze it together back and front just to make sure that it gets stamped right. So now I'm lining up my third image, which you can't tell because my head's in the way. Sorry about that. And I'm going to use my darkest ink, which in this case is the Stampin' Up! Crushed Curry. I have no idea if these inks are still available. I'm just using what I have until I can replace them with some more updated colors. But this is what I got for now, and you know, budget says. So now I'm going to grab the ink, or the ink. I'm going to grab the leaf, which is in this image. I'm conditioning that stamp with my hand a little bit because I've never used these. I'm going to use the inks that came in this kit as well. And those are all Altenew inks. And that first one, just like I did before, I'm going to start with the lightest ink, which this one is Frayed Leaf. And I clearly had a hard time getting the lid off, so that's why my piercing tool's off to the side, just so I could get that lid off. I love these colors, but those little ink cubes, getting the lids off is a pain. It could just be operator issues, but you know. So I'm going to stamp it 3 different times. I was trying to see if it would line up, and it wouldn't. I should have thought that through a little bit better. So I've just got 2 other pieces of paper that I'm going to stick down. And I love the stamp tools for this reason, that once you line up the image one time, that's all you have to do. And if you are doing a bunch of different cards or whatever, you can line that image up one time and put your pieces in, stamp, stamp, stamp. Just go, like you'll see I put that other one in there because it's already lined up, and I re-stamped it. And that was the Forest Glades. And now my head's in the way again, but I'm trying to line up that third leaf image, which are the veins of the leaf, and I just want to make sure it's perfect, so it's taking me a few seconds to do that. And once I've got it lined up, I'm going to use the Evergreen. Whew, having a time this morning. Evergreen ink, and I'm going to stamp that image, and then I'll finish out the last 2. So I've pulled out my Sizzix Sidekick. So after trimming down all of my images, I tape the dies in place with some washi tape, and I'm running those through. I have the flower, and I've got the 3 leaf images that I'm going to run through there. Love that thing still. It's such a great little tool to have on the side of my desk. And now I'm scoring my card base, which measures 4 1/4 by 11 inches. I'm scoring that at 5 1/2 to make it a top folding A2 size card. That, for my texture portion of my card, I'm using the embossing folder from Tailored Expressions called Dotted Lattice, on a piece of cardstock that measures 4 by 5 1/4. And I didn't show you, but I used my Big Shot machine, and I followed the instructions on the packaging to make the proper sandwich, if you will. So check with your machine's instructions so that you don't do it wrong and break your machine. Now I'm just going to line up those leaves where I want them, and I'm going to grab some liquid glue to adhere my leaves down because I don't want those popped up. I'm going to end up having a lot of other things popped up, but I want the leaves flat to the card. So I grab my Tombow Mono Multi, and I'm just going to glue those down in place. And they'll hang off significantly, but I'll trim those off later. And then I'm also going to use that liquid glue to adhere my piece of designer paper, which measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it will completely cover my card base. I don't know what this designer paper is called. It's from Stampin' Up. It was in my stash. It's blue. That's what I needed, so that's what I grabbed. And I used foam tape here, and I'm just going to tell you, this foam tape that I have is not the Scotch foam tape. This is some other brand. I have no idea what the brand is. When it came, it was like a generic, no-name brand. But it is the worst foam tape I have ever owned. It was inexpensive compared to the Scotch brand, but I learned my lesson. The only way to peel off that backing paper is to use a bone folder to push it down first. And it also kind of gunks up my scissors, which is another reason why I don't care for it. But I'm trying to use it up, and I don't have a whole lot left, so I'll just use what I have, because that's what you do, right? I bought it, so gotta use it. Trimmed off the excess of those leaves, and you'll see it's kind of a pain just to peel that backing paper off. But I'm doing it. And I'll adhere my flower to the front of the card. And I've also decided I want to decorate the inside, so I grabbed the leftover piece from that designer paper, and I just adhered it to the inside, and I'm trimming off the excess. And then I'm going to move on to my sentiments from the set. And I'm going to use the long skinny sentiment for the outside, and I'm just going to grab a scrap of my Neenah Solar White cardstock, and I'm just going to stamp that down with, I'm going to use the crisp, which I think is pretty crisp, jet black Altenew ink that came in this kit, or this little set as well. I'll just ink it up pretty well, stamp it along the bottom, and I'm also going to stamp the inside of the card with the other sentiment that came in this set. And I'm going to eyeball it when I get it lined up how I think it should be. Ink up the back using that same ink. Stamp it down, which isn't straight now that I'm looking at it, but that's okay. It adds to the handmade element. I'll trim out my piece, or my sentiment, using my paper trimmer, and I will cut the edge of that at an angle, and I'm going to adhere it with some foam tape once I decide where I want it. And once I've put it down, I'll trim off that excess. And then I'm going to grab my Nuvo Neptune Crystal Drops, and I'm just going to add some little dots, because that blue just matched so perfectly. And I am going to tap them down on my surface so that I can get a little bit more flat enamel dot look to them. And that's going to finish off my card. So if you liked this video, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you've done those things, thanks. And as always, thanks for stopping by.